Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, the channel that brings you your team every single day. The channel is run by the fans for you, the fan. Well, guys, it is Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, or it could be any time, really, I suppose, whenever you are picking up this video. If you are picking up the video, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. If you've not already done so, please hit that sub, ring that notification bell, and help us to keep this channel growing and help us to get to our target of 3,000 subs by the end of July. We are more than on our way there. So, obviously, last night we had the podcast. I did a solo podcast on the channel. This was that's what the thumbnail looks like. If you haven't checked it out, please go check it out. We talked about Antonio Cholak, we talked about Danilo, we talked about players who should be moving on. We talked about the squad possibly for next season. We had lots of great live chat comments from you guys. So please hit that sub and go and obviously check out that video. Well worth a watch, in my opinion. There is another podcast coming up this week. It is on Wednesday when we will reflect back on Alan McGregor's testimonial, which is obviously on the Tuesday night against that team, Newcastle United, who I don't really like. But yeah, we're going to reflect back on Grigsy's testimonial. So well worth a listen, guys. Well worth a watch on Wednesday night. Come and join us for that. Well, we've got a few things. We've got a few things to talk about today. Obviously, we covered a lot in the podcast last night. I don't really want to repeat myself here on this video. We're going to talk about Danilo. That story again. We did release a video yesterday, but there is more news about Danilo and about his possible future and his possible coming to Glasgow to join Rangers. We'll also talk about Ianis Hagi as well. More news about his future at the club. I'm also going to talk about former Rangers manager and Rangers legend Graham Souness. Well, let's start off by talking about this man here that was featured on the thumbnail, Mr. Yanis Hagi, obviously Victoria's very, very, very favourite. Yanis Hagi has obviously been linked with a move away from the club in this summer transfer window. It is obviously a link that is very much alive, very much is looking possible. It is very much Italian clubs that are at this moment in time showing an interest in Yanis Hagi. Obviously, I brought you news about Lecce being a possible destination for Yanis Hagi. But look, Hagi's had a difficult year, hasn't he? Last year, he's had a difficult, sort of 12 to 18 months with that injury. That that ACL injury was a big one for him, and I think the end of the season kind of came at the wrong time for Yanis, didn't it? Yanis, I think, was getting back into the first team, was getting his match fitness back, and then the season ends, and it kind of ends that, doesn't it? He then obviously went off to look at, to go and work with the Romanian national team, but at the end of the day, he could well be moved on. I think, if an offer comes in between anything from 3 to 5 million, I think Rangers could well and truly consider it. Obviously, this has gone against what has been said in the media. Yanis talked about the fact that he'd held talks with Michael Beale, that he was very positive for his future at Rangers, that he was excited for the future at Rangers as well. And he was off in Germany working with the squad. It was interesting, though, that if you look at the teams that were fielded in those games, Hagi played second half, only played second half, didn't play ran with I think what you describe as a lot of the first teamers in the first half. He did play a part, but he is reportedly, like I said, interesting Italian clubs, and you can't help but feel that maybe Italian football or Spanish football would better suit Yanis Hagi's style. Yanis, he's got bags of skill, bags of talent, very much both-footed, very, very able footballer, but he just hasn't got pace, has he? He is very, very slow. And in the Scottish game, that is something that, doesn't bode well for you if you haven't got speed. It is, I think, an essential element of playing in Scotland, and it's something that Yanis has, I think, suffered from. Yes, he was phenomenal during the 55 season, but that ACL injury that he suffered, it does impact your speed. It does impact your ability to turn and move quickly, and could slow him down. And Yanis didn't really have a step to lose, did he? And maybe, that going to play in Italy will be better for Yanis in the long run. You've also got to think about consider this fact, that if an Italian club comes in, bids 3.5 million for Yanis Hagi, like US Lecce, who are one of the clubs, or Vigo in Spain, you've got a situation where obviously Galatasaray, who think it is the kind of like their God-given right to sign the son of Georgie Hagi, Ianis Hagi, that they would try and outbid Lecce and outbid Celta, and you could get 4 or 5 million out of Galatasaray. So it's very much a situation, I think, that is very much alive. And like I said, it does go slightly against what has been said. And Yanis did talk very favourably about his talks with Michael Beale, and Michael Beale does like him. But look, I just think that he is very highly rated in Europe. He is very highly thought of in Europe as well. And I think that if a bid comes in, Rangers could well sell, and I think that is a strong possibility. There is a need to clear the decks. There is a need to move out certain players, and I think Yanis Hagi could be well part of those players that move out if the money was to come in for him. So, Yanis Hagi on his way out or not? What do you think? Would you sell Yanis Hagi, or do you think we should keep him for another season? I suppose the other thing to consider when it comes to Yanis is how much game time is he realistically going to get? How much starting game time is he realistically going to get next season? You've got obviously Kieran Dowell, you've got Todd Cantwell, you've got Sam Lammers, you've got Tom Lawrence, or possibly ahead of him in the pecking order. Especially if Yanis, he's not really a wide man. He likes to play perhaps behind, more so behind those central two strikers or behind that striker. He can play holding, I suppose, but he's less effective there. Cantwell's there, Lammers is there, Dowell is there, all players who seemingly are ahead of him so for me, it could well be a possibility that he is moved on this summer. And like I said, anything between 3 and 5 million, I think Rangers would consider and would ship him out for that. Okay, we're going to get to Danilo shortly, but let's first talk about a quick piece of news to do with Graham Souness. Now, as you are aware, Graham Souness left Sky Sports, and many people were tipping him for a role at Rangers. Now, one of some of the slightly more mischievous amongst the Rangers fans suggested him maybe for sporting director at the club, but Souness himself said that he doesn't feel that he has the temperament for that type of job anymore. So he was offered apparently an ambassadorial role for Glasgow Rangers. He had held talks on a number of occasions with the new chief executive officer, James Bisgrove. He talked over that role. He talked over the possibility of having an ambassadorial role for Rangers. However, now Graham has turned down that role and will not be working for the club in the future. He's decided that he's not for him, and that he has other opportunities that he wishes to pursue at this moment in time. So, it would have been nice to have Graham back. Graham was absolutely superb, wasn't he? Graham was just a Rangers legend. The things that he achieved as manager in the late 80s and 90s was absolutely was phenomenal. Graham was the manager when I started supporting Rangers. He was one of the reasons I started, following Rangers and got really passionate about the club, was the passion that he showed. And I loved that in him. And I would have loved to see him back at the club, but Graham's got to do what's right for him, what's right for his family. I respect his decision not to take the job with the club. Well, let's move on to talk about that man, Mr. Danilo. Any player that can be recognised by one name and one name alone has got to have a bit of something about him, hasn't he? I know there's a lot of Brazilian footballers have that one name. It's, the Romarios, Ronaldos, Rivaldos. I'm talking about the original Ronaldo there, not the arrogant one. Dunga, Cafu, all those players that who you recognise in that one name, they are great players. And there are exceptions. I get that, like Ribari and others that are rubbish Brazilians, Mirandinha, Emerson, players like that. But on the whole, Brazil doesn't, and I'm taking a massive risk in saying this, produce a lot of bad footballers, does it? A lot of Brazilians that come out are two-footed, they're skillful, they're good footballers, they're very aware. Let's face it, out there, football is like a religion to the Brazilians, isn't it? It is absolutely the be-all and end-all in the country. And Danilo is a player who Rangers, I think, are desperate to sign. It is obvious, clear from what has been said in the media. Michael Beale seemingly adores Danilo and wants him in. He's one of the top targets he's had this summer by all accounts. Now, the initial bid, as we know, was rejected. That £3.5 million bid that was put in for the player was rejected out of hand by Feyenoord. Now, the Dutch media agency 908.nl, feel free to go onto their website if you want, but it's all in Dutch, and personally, I don't speak Dutch. So I'm just going to have to take the words of the British media sources that have translated this website. Have said that Feyenoord have had a bid for £6 million from Rangers for Danilo. Now, they were looking allegedly for between 5.5 and 7 million for him. So it's very much felt that this 6 million is very much in the ballpark to get negotiations going. And, Feyenoord could well accept this bid. 3.5 million plus the 2.5 million for Antonio Cholak. That's where it gives you this £6 million. That's where that money is coming from. Yes, this would be a major outlay for Rangers to spend 6 million. Now, look, I know in the grand scheme of European football at this moment in time, with the amounts of money being sloshed around in the EPL, over 100 million for Declan Rice, for example, and even the amounts of money being swished around in La Liga and in Ligue 1, Marseille have just paid 30 million for a left back from Atletico Madrid. Barcelona, Real Madrid continue to pay high prices. Jude Bellingham over 100 million. I know 6 million is not a lot of money these days in football. And look, but for Rangers at this moment in time, 6 million is a lot of cash. It is a substantial investment. And you've got to say that Danilo, if the signing is successful, is a marquee signing. It is a statement signing. It is a signing that sends a message, and sends a message in particular to that lot across the city that says we are coming and we are serious about winning 3 trophies this season in Scotland, and obviously doing well in Europe as well. So it does seem that this £6 million bid has been submitted, and there are strong rumours within the Dutch media this morning that that bid has been accepted and negotiations have begun over the transfer of Danilo. Quite when that deal will be completed, there's no timescales been put on that, but I think the sooner we can get this done, the sooner we can get Danilo over, we can get him working with Michael Beale and the rest of the players, the better for the club. But it does seem to be very exciting times at Rangers. And this summer, this rebuild that's been done and that has been undergone by Rangers is absolutely superb. For me, it's so impressive what Michael Beale has done. How hard he's worked, how much effort he has put into to kind of trying to rebuild this team and rebuild this team in his own image. He's done a brilliant job. And look, I know the proof is in the pudding. I know the proof is in the eating, and it will come once the season starts to see how he gets on. But look, at the end of the day, I've got to say it has been absolutely superb what Michael has achieved. What Michael has done in terms of signings. And if he can pull off this Danilo signing, it will be a great feather in his cap. Danilo is a very talented player, and I look forward, if he does sign, to him wearing the royal blue, to him running out at Ibrox. I think it will be absolutely fantastic. This player is a player, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, who can make a huge, huge difference to this club, and I think will really have a huge impact on Rangers and on the SPFL next season. So be a brilliant signing. I really hope we get it done. I hope we can pull it across the line. I think there is a chance. I think this bid, the bid that's been put in, is likely to be accepted, and if it is, then great news for us that we can bring him in. And I'm looking forward to obviously seeing Danilo play for Rangers next season. Now, one thing I want to address is there's a continual rumor that keeps coming up on a lot of media sites as regards possible signings for Rangers. And look, I know, we all know that until it's the scarf picture, until it is at Ockenhowie or Ibrox, it ain't official. It ain't definite. And we know the media like to clickbait. We know the media like to spin things how they want to. And look, I get that. I understand that 100%. Now, according to a couple of media sites, internet sites, Rangers are interested in a player called Jack Clarke, who plays for Sunderland. Jack Clarke was one of the stars of the Championship for Sunderland last season. Had double figure assists and double figure goals, 13 goals, 11 assists last season, 24 goal contributions in 50 games. And there's a few people rumouring that Rangers could well be interested in trying to sign Jack Clarke. Look, he's a winger. I get that. That's why the link is there. He could replace Ryan Kent, who's left. Again, get that. But Sunderland have turned down a £9 million bid from Burnley and dismissed it out of hand. Rumour has it in the English press and, amongst sources at Sunderland that they are looking for somewhere between 15 and 20 million for the player. So if you read this rumour online, if you read this rumour in the papers, it is utter rubbish. I cannot see Rangers spending, because we do not have the money, 15 to 20 million on Jack Clarke. It's just, again, a no-go story for me. Like I said, they've already dismissed a £9 million bid from Burnley. They want 15 to 20 million for him. There's no way they're going to part with any less than a double figure, an 8-figure transfer sum for this player. So again, I just genuinely can't think that Rangers will move to sign him. And I think that whilst it would be a lovely idea, he is a very talented player. I've seen him play live. He is an exceptionally talented player. But it just ain't going to happen, guys. It is not going to happen. But an interesting story nonetheless in the media. But I think the big news, obviously, of today, the big news going forward is the fact that this £6 million bid has gone in for Danilo. And there does seem to be a possibility that bid will be accepted and that Feyenoord will allow him to leave, which much to the chagrin of manager Arne Slot, who seems very angry with Feyenoord's board, the amount of players that are being allowed to leave by the club. They've just sold someone to Sevilla for 30 million. And the player, I can't remember where he's gone, but he has also left. They seem to be gutting that championship winning team and making as much money as possible on it. And I think that you add Danilo into that, and Slot has not been very happy, shall we say, with that and with the selling of players. But I certainly hope that Danilo will be at Rangers in the very near future. Well, guys, if you've enjoyed the content, please hit that sub and ring that notification bell. Please go back and check out the podcast from last night. It's like that. It's also available on Spotify as well, if you've got Spotify. Thanks so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. Remember, I need you to do two things for me. I always need you to do two things for me. Number one, smash the like. Does help with the YouTube algorithm. Don't understand it, but apparently it helps. And also remember, we are the people.